What's going on, workforce? Brian here.
Chris here.
And today we've got a community feedback. It's been a little while since we've done a community feedback.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen you.
I know. Where the heck have you been, man? So with this, there's obviously a ton of topics that we want to talk about. But in this video, in this community feedback, we're highlighting your comments from a couple of videos regarding the YouTube monetization, the partner program, all of that. There have been so many amazing comments, and we've been having a lot of great conversations with you. We figured this is the time, this is the video that we want to highlight your comments. Oh yeah. All right, guys. I'm gonna turn it over to Chris. We've got our first comment.
All right, our first comment is from 43 Pratique. I'm constantly disappointed by YouTube. 4,000 hours is too much, especially for people who make smaller videos.
Yes, absolutely. From that perspective, 4,000 hours can seem very daunting when you go do the math, because also the system doesn't communicate in hours, it communicates in minutes. So it's like, go run this report, divide by 60, and then that will tell you where you are at for the last 12 months.
And I think another thing to note is, for that first creator, you don't actually receive your paycheck until you've hit $100. So if you're making $1 a month, it'll take 100 months before you get your first check. And for a lot of creators, that means that they're getting a check once a year, every other month, something like that. And
we didn't get our first check until like 6 or 7 months on the platform.
I don't know what we made in months 2, 3, and 4. I stopped tracking it, but I remember distinctly that our very first month on YouTube, we made 12 cents, and I was so excited about it.
That 12 cents still to this day it's so nice.
And that's before we've had to buy cameras and we've bought games, and so it was a losing battle. But we had this 12 cents sitting in this imaginary account that would one day pay.
We hoped.
And so I agree that it's too much for a beginner. I understand where YouTube's coming from. I think this starts to open the conversation of, then where should the line be? There has to be a line.
So when he talks about smaller vids, things that come to my mind would be like animations, like 1-minute animations. And I think for the longest time, YouTube has actually started to just de-incentivize those kind of videos anyway, moving towards this magical number that we've kind of internally talked about as maybe 7 to 8 minutes. Like, that seems to be this magic, threshold of content where we don't ramble on too much, unlike this video, or at the same time where but yeah, like anything that 3 minutes and under, it's like, oh, I don't know if there's no value there. There's no incentive, because you're not going to get the recommendations.
Right.
And now it's going to make it almost daggum near impossible to hit that 4,000 hours over the course of a year, unless you have a huge install base that's just, really excited about that content.
So let's go ahead and dive on to the next comment, because I think we already know where this conversation's headed, and they may do it for us.
Absolutely. So Zane Leinhart writes, if anything, this should motivate people to work harder. Don't be pessimistic, be optimistic. Nothing comes easy, you gotta work for what you want.
Now, one thing I want to note on this comment is, actually, because of a tool I use in my browser where I grab the screenshot, this actually shows the number of subscribers that other channels have.
Yeah.
And so this is a comment coming from somebody under the cutoff. Right. Zane, you've been around a long time. You're close, and that's exciting.
Yeah.
But this says you're getting cut off, and you're looking and saying, this is just one more thing I need to get to, and I can do that. I think that's the best attitude. There is
a personal motivation that you have to have with any of this, because first and foremost, I always say that if you can't take critique, if you have a thin skin, it's very difficult to put things out in the world and not just get your feelings hurt. Because the things that people have said, about me, just doing this, just talking about video games, it's like, okay, I've thankfully been, doing this a long time. I've been creating art and drawing cartoons and all these things that I've heard, all the horrible things, and I've heard all the good things. And you just have to learn to be able to take, the good critique, listen to it, understand it, but don't let it affect you, personally. And this is kind of that root thing that I think Zane's getting at, is that you can look at this, you can let it defeat you, but then, who wins? I think everybody loses in that case. I think what Zane is like, okay, yeah, they moved the goalposts on us, and it's not, fair. I don't think it kind of feels like the rug got pulled out from under you, but you only have two options. You can either say, all right, I really love what I'm doing, and do it better, do it harder, do it faster, stronger, or you can walk away. And my hope is that more creators take Zane at heart here and say, yeah, I love what I'm doing. I'm going to work harder. And it shows. Zane has been growing. Like, we actually, I ran into him when he was at 300 subs. So he's already over doubled his install base by making his guides and things like that.
And YouTube does work in doubles. The first 100 subscribers is so hard.
Yeah.
And then you get there and a bigger creator goes, okay, well, the first 1,000 is really hard. And you go from 100 to 200 way faster.
Yeah.
But then you feel like you slow back down because you're chasing 1,000. You're chasing that magnitude.
Yeah. Now everybody literally is chasing 1,000.
And then they're like, oh, 1,000. Well, your first 10,000 is the hardest. And it really is. It seems to double. It seems to go in some exponential where I'll see channels that it felt like they were only 8,000 ahead of us. And I was like, wow, you know, that's somebody that I want to keep an eye on. Like, how are their content doing? And then now they're 12,000 ahead of us. But it's just a percentage game. So I don't know. It has a lot to do with the algorithm. The algorithm basically says, I want to keep somebody on the website to make ad revenue. That's the algorithm's job, is to make YouTube
money
profitable.
Yeah.
And so it looks at videos that are tried and true and puts those in front of people that it thinks will like it, which means you have to earn that tried and true status. And that's tough.
The and one final note or thought for me on this, though, is that you know, putting things out there, working, you know, hard at it is one thing, but also studying and trying to learn from other people who might be doing something interesting or creative. You just mentioned it, where, you know, there are creators that we watch and follow, and, you know, for inspiration, for ideas in which, like, oh, they edited that really interesting. How did they do that? YouTube for me is a platform where I'm constantly learning. And that is the attitude that I think that if you have that idea that you're constantly learning, and then see people who are doing things that you like, and then, you know, I wouldn't say copy the video, but copy what you like about them. I had a coach in high school who always said, if you want to be success, find someone who's a success and do what they do. And then eventually it becomes, you know, something that, you know, you might make a change, or you might make it your own, and thus it becomes better, it becomes unique. But there's nothing wrong with seeing that somebody does something that you like and saying, I'm going to try that. And then maybe, you know, after a couple of times when you kind of learn like the transitions and all these different things, you're like, I got this. I'm gonna change it up a bit because this will be a little bit easier or more fun or more me.
Yeah. And my parents have always said to drop, you know, if we're going to each drop a piece of childhood wisdom that defined us. I'm sure our parents said 10,000 things and they wonder why these 12 stick. But I was always reminded 100 different ways that you are who you surround yourself with. So you see creators doing content that you like things about. You like the way it's lit. You like the way the audio, you don't know why you can't look away. You can't just listen. Then look at it and watch their videos regularly. Look at the pacing, look at the transitions, and see if there's something you can learn. We're still pretty small creators, and we're still pretty young on the platform, and yet our content has changed so much over the last few years.
And this is from feedback and from listening and from the conversations and from just trying out new things. Like, hey, let's see if this is fun. And then some things I'm like, I really like that, and some things I'm like, oh, that didn't work.
So, thank you, Zane. We all just need to pick ourselves up, keep moving forward.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so the next one is Raspberry. I'm going to lose my monetization. I haven't made many videos recently, but this does suck for those who do. This is awful for new creators. They just need to be more strict and actually follow their community guidelines and stop these negative types of videos.
So this is really interesting because I saw this comment and I wanted to kind of do a little research. So we actually went and looked up Raspberry on Social Blade. If you guys haven't heard of Social Blade, it's a great website that you can kind of get ideas of what, you know, people like, how many views and things like that. And so you've had a lot of views, and I think essentially what ended up breaking down and what we were looking at is that it was about consistency. I think it had been 4 months since you've uploaded a video, and you're obviously being game focused, which was really interesting and speaks to us and to our audience. You know, and with that, those numbers, yeah, YouTube rewards consistency, and that in and of itself is hard, especially for a new creator, especially when you're not getting a lot of views. Something that whenever you get like your first video that gets 100 views, it's just like, this is incredible, you know, oh my gosh, like 100 views, and then it just kind of builds from there to the point where you're like, yeah. But with that, it's that the system wants that, you know, whether it's daily or it's like every, you know, couple of days, that consistency. And also a community, I think, almost comes to expect it. I think that's why if you have a lot of views but you don't have a lot of subscribers, look at your posting frequency would be something I would look at. And just even nothing else, like just, you know.
That's why I subscribe to people.
Yeah.
I don't know why everybody does.
Everybody
has
don't
have the
reasons.
ability to ask at each and every new subscriber why they subscribed. But I subscribe to people because they've put out a video that makes me go, wow, I want to see more from this, either more on this subject or more from this person. And so I want to be sure I can get back here. I want to bookmark this creator. I don't necessarily want to watch this video over and over, but I want to watch this person over and over,
Right.
Or this group. And so I think that's the hard thing here. The other half of this comment is they just need to be more strict and actually follow the community guidelines. There is thousands and thousands of hours of YouTube content being pushed out.
Is it 400 hours uploaded every hour?
I think it's like every minute or something. Could be.
It's
It's something
ridiculous.
crazy. It's something that, like, they have thousands of employees whose whole job is to review this, and all they do is review videos, like even ours, that get demonetized by an algorithm that goes and does a blanket swing. Ours, especially when the word Stormblood's in there, I think it's the word blood.
Yeah.
And so every time it gets demonetized, and we lose monetization for the amount of time it takes them to turn that around. And those 1,000 employees, it's like 6,000 employees now. It was 3. And
they
it went
just
to 6.
hired 10 as a part of the upper tier program, the preferred program,
Right?
Because you have the whole Logan Paul problem, so that there's a upper tier that's now reviewing these top tier creators to ensure, from the advertiser's perspective, that this is vetted content. This is should lose their mind over what was posted. Hopefully.
Keep in mind, we're very sympathetic to small YouTubers, but we also try
to big
to
YouTubers.
think about, so the ones that got cut off by this. But I'm also sympathetic to where YouTube had a really rough year last year.
2017 was really hard. And for us, like,
it kind of just hit a critical mass. It wasn't new that these problems were happening, but it was
kept happening more and more.
It was
often.
more and more, and it was picking up on mainstream media. And the problem is the algorithm has learned that bringing people from outside websites onto the platform is good for YouTube growth, and so it was encouraging that. So when these things got referenced, the algorithm didn't care if it was bad news. It was like, great, Logan Paul clicks are coming from CNN.
Ding, ding, ding,
this
ding,
is
ding.
wonderful. And it just pushed his stuff higher and higher.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the things that's hard to say is that you go to your advertisers and you say, well, we didn't know. Well, you were paying them.
Right.
Payment looks like consent. So I think what they're trying to do here is say, okay, from this point forward, we have to draw the line somewhere. This group of people, and we have to draw the line somewhere, is who we verify. And then each new person after that will have to apply, which will probably require them reviewing a few of your videos manually, like human beings.
Oh yeah, it's got to have a human element to it. The thing that concerns me, and my concern also for small creators, is do they move? What if they move the goalposts again? So the first they came in at 10,000 views, and then especially for those who just hit it, I believe even Raspberry has hit the 10,000. He's at 13,000 views, I think. Oh my gosh, what an incredible achievement! This is that. Oh man, I remember the first
84 uploads, which is an incredible view per upload.
Yeah, that's a good average right there
for a starting.
That means that you probably have a couple of videos that just got a lot of views, and then you have a couple that are just on your average, a couple hundred views here and there, which is a great achievement. But it's that, okay, do you now bust your butt, get 1,000, get that 4,000, watch time, and then do they say, well, got to move the goalposts again, and you're constantly chasing this undefined thing. My personal hope is that they set it here, and then they evaluate, and then eventually they say, well, okay, now we can actually lower it down because we've got
I don't think
the
they'll lower
win.
it down.
I don't
because
think they will.
Because the
My
number of
hope
creators
they
is
will.
growing.
Yeah.
So it staying the same is effectively lowering it.
Well, yeah, I guess at
more
some
and more
point,
viewers.
I guess
so
at some
1,000
point when you
subscribers
bust your
would be
butt, you get to that, and then they lower it. You might be like, why did they lower it? I worked so hard. So that those new I guess that makes sense.
And 1 million
It's
subscribers
again-
used to be hard to get, and now there's channels with 50 million. So thankfully, it should get easier and easier to have 1,000 subscribers out there as more and more people come to the platform, as long as they can find you. So that searchable content is key.
Yeah, searchable content, man. It is absolutely key. So JPM Cuisine writes, we gotta support each other. YouTubers unite! I'm subbing all the small channels like me. Keep hope alive.
I think that this is dangerously close to sub for sub.
Yeah.
And I think sub for sub isn't doing you any favors.
Right. I think sub for sub is actually going to hurt you in the long run.
Right.
But there's a couple things you can do
Because
to
you're going to have poor engagement.
Yeah.
So engagement is something that gets looked at as you get larger, especially if you start looking for brand deals, discounts associated with brands, passes to events, anything like that.
It's like you got 10,000 subs, but you get 5 views a month.
Right.
You know, well, I mean, then you still have the watch time thing. So sub for sub in this case, especially, that's why they say watch time and subscriber base, is that they want to make sure that you're making good content. Go ahead.
I think it's a short-term solution to a long-term problem. And the other thing is, sometimes they go and they clean all those out. They look at people, oh, this person clicked sub, and then they never watched another video again, and they
or watched a video,
and they haven't been on the platform in 3 months, and they'll go and clear that person out of all the channels they sub to. I appreciate the thought behind it.
Well, I think that if outside of the sub for sub, if you look at it from kind of what I would say team ups and collabs, the advice I would give in this case is that don't sub for sub, but find content creators like you, maybe even roughly around the same size, and instead of sub for sub, reach out to them via their contact email and form almost what I would say a small MCN. And we're not a part of an MCN, and we didn't know what the heck an MCN was until after we got to a certain size, and all of a sudden they start contacting us saying, hey, sign up.
Get the form emails.
You know, yeah. Like, hey, dear YouTuber.
Yeah, dear individual person making videos.
Well, I don't know who this is. But you should, I honestly think that this would be a good time for that, as small creators actually making contact with each other, and then doing collabs, like showing up on each other's like videos and doing like podcasts and doing team ups. And that way you can, like, one person can make a topic and one person can reference the topic, and then all of a sudden you build your own little communities of different channels. So instead of just sub for sub, you have this whole ecosystem in which that you guys are, giving each other advice, learning from each other, sharing things like that. That would actually, I think, would be what we might actually see happen. And the question I've asked Chris is like, we did a video on we had a secondary channel, and we're deciding like, well, based on these changes, it doesn't make a lot of sense to invest, because it would obviously get hit by the demonetization issue. So we were like, well, like with all the issues last year, I think MCNs, like if MCNs can and pay you and you could join up for them, they just got more powerful. I don't know the answer to that. I haven't been able to find out if that's the case. But even if you're not a part of an MCN in the desk here, making your own loosely affiliated one with creators who are interested.
And focus on the word loose there. It doesn't have to be a collab in person. There's plenty of people in the Final Fantasy space that we watch and engage with, and we've asked some of them for time. And some of them have told us yes in the future, and so we look forward to sharing that with the channel.
Yeah.
And some of them have said nothing. We just get no response. And some of them said no, not right now. And so you can't always expect, and swing for the fences. I mean, we can ask people who are way bigger than us, and they may not even check that inbox, So I don't even take it personally if they don't respond, or if they say no, we're too busy, but thank you. But definitely just try to see, even if there's something informal. So what we'll do is we'll reference a video that we like. Hey, this person made this video. I think it's an interesting topic, and I'm going to expand on that point in a different direction. These two videos kind of are interesting things. I wonder if they're connected. I'm going to make a video on that, and then I'm going to link to both of them. And, I'm going to tag them on Twitter or wherever, and sometimes they reach out, sometimes they reference you, and we've had a handful of times where a YouTuber larger than us referenced us. Mr. Happy himself has done it a few times, and we see a spike in views and subscribers for those days, because those are people who are interested in what we're interested in that haven't found us yet.
Right. And we can call that the Mr. Happy bump.
The first one was massive.
It was like we're at 7, and it's like, we're no longer at 7, Chris. Boom. It's like, whoa.
We had like, I don't know, 300 subscribers, and we jumped to like 400 in like a day.
It was insane.
It was
like,
awesome.
What? We were like getting ready. We're like, okay, yeah, let's make a 400 thank you video. And it's like, whoa, wait, we just blew past that. All right, we'll get to 1,000 then.
So yes, YouTubers unite, absolutely. The execution here is what I disagree with.
It's the key is that, don't sub for sub, but really try to make...
Actually unite.
Actually unite. Like, so anyway, if you don't know about this, make sure you include like a business email, a contact on your YouTube change in your About panel. So that way, people like JPM Cuisine and then you guys can hopefully sync up in contact, etc. So
absolutely,
that's my advice.
All right, so Nicos Woodworking DIY 6 days ago just said, I just started and I think it's a good reason to stop making videos. We have watched one of your videos. Please don't stop making videos.
Don't stop, dude. Seriously.
You've been doing this for a month and you have 2,100 views and 50 subscribers. That is way faster than anything we've experienced. Now, you are a woodworking channel, so the watch time is going to be easier to come by than the subscribers because you're not going to be able to put out videos at the pace that's going to make people want to subscribe unless you put that call to action in your videos. And this is an interesting point that we talk about different kinds of videos. Daily vloggers are going to have an easy time getting to the subscriber total because you want to see what happens next. But if they're putting out a 3-minute video every day and they build up to that 100, that 1,000 subscribers very quick, but then those people only tune in once or twice a month, they don't get to, because the watch time is in hours. It's a lot.
So giving you advice specifically on your video, I loved the do-it-yourself lamp. Oh my gosh. And on that note, though, I would think that if you took the time to add in steps, just in text, kind of describing what step you're working on and why you're doing that, it ends up becoming an educational video. And I don't know if that makes sense for that video or if it also makes sense to add that educational thing, like how to build a wooden lamp, from scratch, and things like that. So that would be that. Right. And that ties back into our other conversation of the other tips is like making searchable content. Make things that, how do I do this? One of the things I think that suffers, so you're woodworking do-it-yourself, is like I said, that for channels like that I search how to fix my dishwasher, how do I do this? Well, I'm coming in. They're going to get the watch time. I don't need to.
You solved my problem.
Unless my dishwasher is always breaking down.
Right.
And then
I wonder if this guy's going to fix a dryer sometime in the next month because mine has been broken.
It could be, yeah.
So, and one of the things I would do is I would go look at other channels of your type. We've said this already. So for you specifically, I would look at Chris Salome, 4 Eyes. He does like calm voiceovers. So he does exactly editing like yours, and he does calm voiceovers of the whole thing, and he kind of tells this story, and it's fantastic. And my wife and I subscribe, and we're not woodworkers. We just watch it because it's awesome.
Yeah.
And then Frank Howarth does some of that like stop motion type stuff, and I would go take a look at him as well. And those are 2 creators who didn't used to be big, and they've gotten big, and they're starting to move to things like Patreon and stuff like that. YouTube AdSense is usually around 25% of people who do this professionally's full-time income.
Right.
They take the other 3/4 and they leverage it against things like Patreon. Maybe you sell those lamps, you sell t-shirts, donations, other platforms, things like Twitch. And so if I could say anything, if somebody's taking away your monetization and you have that much growth, first of all, you're going to be over the line in no time. If you were able to pick up 50 subscribers in 1 month, you're going to be there in no time. Second of all,
keep making stuff. Yeah.
Keep just finding other ways. If the money is the issue, once you're over 1,000 subscribers, see if you can find a local hardware store that'll donate the materials for your next thing.
Yeah, having that and being able to reference them could be a good way of kind of, giving back. Not like as an obligation or something, like you're doing them a favor. Sure. But it's never harmful to politely ask for any type of that, kind of system and setup for that nature. I think also from that that perspective is that, for anybody who's also like Nicos that's feeling like, like giving up because of the changes, look back to what Zane said, and say, you know what, if this is something you're passionate about, do it. Don't let these changes stop you, because also the monetization, while it's important and it helps, like for us, we've spoken about it, like this at 12 cents, like was like, wow, you don't have that, but at the end of the day, it's also not talking about it in a substantial amount of money. So that if you're looking at trying to make a jump to full-time YouTube under 1,000 subs, that just is going to be very, very difficult.
And something caused you to make the jump to upload that first video. And this isn't Nicos' first video.
Right.
And so what gave you the drive to do all that editing, do all that work? Because you obviously still have that. And my question to most people right now is, if not YouTube, then where? They still have the single best platform. It is the easiest on the users. It is the easiest to upload to. It is the best monetization that is consistent. It exposes you to tons of new people all the time. There isn't a better platform at this time. And so that, not to say that we're going to be on YouTube for the rest of our lives, but right now, YouTube is the best platform out there.
Yeah.
And so even if it gets worse, we kind of got to stick with it.
But yeah, back again, same kind of advice applies. Just try to find other creators around your size and be able to do collabs and get feedback. And the nice thing that, I have a partner in this, like Chris and I, like we team up and we make videos for this channel, and it takes a lot of pressure off of trying to make content every day. There's a lot of value in it because we can also give each other like advice. And that's the same thing that sometimes at the end of the day, it's, what did you think about this? Like, honestly, tell me so that I can learn from it. Like, did you like it? Did you not like it? Was it too long? Was it too short? And being able to build
twice as many tutorials, because sometimes you don't learn anything from a tutorial. You get to the end, you're like, well, that wasn't helpful.
Nope.
And at least then I can be like, oh, I watched 6 tutorials. I found one good one. I send just that one to Brian.
Yeah, and the same way. It's like, hey, Chris, I was really curious about how to do overlays. So, here you go. Check out this video. It really actually taught me a lot as well. So, whether you're on the same channel or on, different channels, reach out. Make a friend. So Madison writes, WTF, I absolutely qualify for the monetization, but they still sent me the email stating that I will not be monetized. I am so confused.
Now, we looked at Madison's Social Blade.
She was doing great.
She was doing great. So I have no idea why you got the email. And
you got the subs, obviously. You got the watch time. It was like, well, maybe like she didn't hit the watch time in the last 12 months. It's like, there's no way.
59,000 views in the last 30 days.
In the last 30 days alone.
So it's like, well, if
they're at a minute each.
If they're watching even 1 minute. So I wouldn't worry about it, or I would reach out to you two if you wanted that confirmation so you could sleep better.
Yeah, I think honestly that some people definitely got this emails by mistake.
Yeah, this email got sent out massively.
Yeah.
I looked through our inbox, but I didn't see anything. Doesn't mean that it's not deep down in the spam mail or something. We looked at the actual blog post, knew we were over it, and just moved on from that standpoint.
Yeah, it's weird that you got the email. But again, systems are, computers are computers, and there could be any reason. But at what you've got, you've already got the subs, and even if you're barely at the watch time, there's no way you're not. I honestly, let us know, because if you do get demonetized, there's got to be some other reason.
But I do want to say, for people that got the email and they're close to the line, because there's a ton of you, just keep going. First of all, you have 30 days. Second of all, after that 30 days, it's not like they're deleting all of your videos. They're just saying that, hey, for now, you don't get any money. That you don't get that whatever you've been building. And, during our first year, we made not very much.
No.
So it is a bummer to see that go away.
Yeah.
But then they're saying, hey, when you do get there, apply. And when you get approved, because you will, because you're not putting out all the content that's getting the platform in trouble.
Yeah.
Then
Hashtag
you have that entire library that's now going to be earning that. So they are getting away from that kind of passive income model where it's like, hey, I uploaded 10 videos 10 years ago and I get a check every month. But they aren't saying, if you're putting out good content, you will eventually be there.
Yeah.
So just keep at it.
Keep going. And Madison, let us know. If you get hit,
absolutely.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Anyway.
Absolutely.
Good luck.
That actually would scare us.
That would be horrible.
And No Save Points says, well, this kind of shot down my desire to build up a Pokemon breeding trading channel. I don't think the base would be large enough to meet those new requirements.
I'm going to jump in here. So there's a couple things. Yes, there is definitely that possibility. But one of the things that we often tell ourselves is that don't judge the community that way. You don't know. Maybe when you told me a Pokemon breeding, trading channel, I was like, that sounds awesome.
I never looked for one, so your subscriber growth, I assume, would be slow because I'm not actively looking for you. But once I find you, you might be the only one doing it.
Right, and that's good. Some of the advice that typically people give, and it's anything in business, but like YouTube, it's like either find something that somebody's doing and do it better, find a unique way to present the information, or find something that nobody's doing whatsoever, and there could be a community that's just really interested and passionate about having that kind of concept, that kind of content. Right. But the idea of saying oh, this isn't going to work.
And be open-minded about it.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to also talk about other things Pokemon related. because you're going to need that consistent content schedule. I see this starting to happen on woodworking channels that are trying to get that subscriber growth, where they do put out that same video every 2 weeks like they always have, but in between they talk to the camera for 4 minutes once or twice a week saying, hey, let's talk about a tool in my shop and what it's for. And then in between those posts they say, hey, you know, here's what's going on in my life. And that way the subscribers are, hey, I'm waiting for that next big post, and it's going to get the majority of their views, but in between there's something to keep the subscribership active,
right,
and keep on those home pages. Because if you don't watch something for a while from somebody, they actually drop down your home results. So it's in their best interest as a channel to keep themselves pegged on the top of your homepage.
And so, like, you know, a little, I guess, inside baseball here, some of the things that Chris and I've talked about is that sometimes Chris is like, you know, I'm really not interested in a video like that. And I'm like, well, I am. I'm going to post it. And then it's like, oh, wow, that was a huge video. And it's the idea that you never know what people are going to be excited about. Like, if you make good content, any little thing could be something that, you know, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I never knew people were interested in a Pokemon breeding and trading channel. And it turns out everybody is, right? Yep. So don't judge the community before they've even had a chance to look at the content and say, like, this is something I want to be a part of.
And for those of you who've been around a while, you know that we started by wanting to do a podcast where we talked about video games. And then somebody somehow asked Brian how he got his controller set up for Final Fantasy, and he put up a controller guide. And that's been something that no other channel had anything like Brian's version of a controller guide.
Any controller guides.
And like controller guides has been an anchor tenet for Final Fantasy 14, has been an anchor tenet of our entire channel. We can come out with hundreds of videos, and those videos are just consistent, searched, they're consistent increase in subscribers, and so that's how people are finding us.
Also,
that is something
the
that
community
is unique to Brian.
Yeah, and also the community that has, you know, formed around Work to Game. A lot of them were introduced to us via the controller guides, and so they, even if it's a job they don't play, I'm always amazed. They're like, I'm interested in your take on this because I love controllers. It's like, it's this, you know, I love Final Fantasy, I love controllers, and here we go.
And so what we learned from it was, if we want to grow a different community, that's how we need to start. And so that's why every once in a while on our channel, you'll see us come out with 1 or 2 videos on a subject to see if we can get some initial traction. And if so, we know that we just need to put out tutorials and guides related to that subject for a little bit, and we can get to the opinions later. So don't talk about your favorite Pokemon because nobody knows you.
Right.
But talk about, you know, maybe there's something about breeding and trading that I don't know. Teach me that.
Yeah.
And then keep teaching me things until I begin to know that you're a resource and an expert. And now when you say, what's my favorite? I'm like, I don't know. What is his favorite?
I have to know.
And so that's where we're at. And that's why you see us do things like my Warhammer series that comes out, you know, kind of once a week. And that's just us starting to try to build up that community and help people who are interested in that game find the channel.
Right. And, you know, you're so passionate about it. I love watching your passion and watching those Warhammer videos. And I've never played Warhammer, but I'm like, this is interesting. Julie is like, I really like, maybe we should play Warhammer. I'm like, well, let's let Chris keep making videos. Otherwise, I'll just get distracted by it and all that. But also, it's Pikachu. It's always Pikachu is my favorite Pokemon. Not Raichu, even though. Don't upgrade, man. So Danny Carnage says, this is stupid. I have multiple channels that combined are well over the minimum for one channel, but none meet it on their own. So all my content and income I generate for myself are about to go away. And this is interesting. So, like, we actually have a couple channels.
We do. We have Work to Life is the one that many of you know, but we actually are underneath our umbrella. There's half a dozen. Like anything you read about entrepreneurs, they always try to start 10 businesses, and they just hope one makes it.
Yeah, I created one like Code with Brian. With the idea, like, I was like, oh, I'm going to do some educational videos.
And my house has been renovated over the last year, so I threw one up in case I decided to film for it, and then actually just dealing with the renovation was stress enough. So Work to Life was the idea that at the time we were starting to see channels were being almost penalized when there was content other than their core content, and that it would be easier to go after things in the future like brand deals. Like if we want to get free tickets to BlizzCon or FanFest, or like press passes, which we do. It's not about the money. We just want to... If you're watching Square Enix, please invite us. We'll be there.
We're going to be there regardless.
We're going to be there regardless. But if you have anywhere that we can go and get a T-shirt, I'm in. So that aside, we were like, okay, well then we need to separate gaming from not gaming. So we came out with Work to Life. And then YouTube changed again, and now Work to Life is a negative, that it's not big enough on its own.
And
so we're going to roll the vlog back.
Yeah, putting any kind of our time into it, it's like just with anything else. It's like, oh well, if I'm going to talk about two things, I'm going to prioritize the Work to Game channel. Yep. And so now I'm like, well,
I have time for one video today. It'll always be Work to Game.
Right, and so that's exactly what he was. And I cut you off. It's that we're rolling back the vlog into just Work to Game, and the vlog in and of itself. You might be interested in, and I'm not. That's cool too. We do always want to try to respect your feed, but at the same time, we also are like, there's things we all love talking about. We
like
love
this.
This
isn't gaming.
No, this isn't.
But it's important to us, and we try to make that really clear in the thumbnails, and we try to create lots of playlists so that if somebody's only watching us for one thing, that they can go find that.
They can just live in that playlist and have a good day.
That's great. But yes, it is a bummer that there's not a way to kind of merge these because the views and the watch time and the subscribership,
that'd be cool.
It's just gone.
I don't know. Like for Danny, would you recommend maybe like him just turning off those others and just rolling in those videos into the main, his main channel? Because if he didn't,
if you think that makes sense, and you could theme the thumbnails, right? So from the one channel they could kind of have a blue background, and from another, and we've tried that a couple times with different colored backgrounds starting to represent our playlists and stuff. So that there's kind of a pattern in your eye, so that every time you see a video with a red background, you're like, oh, I never like those.
I don't like the red ones. They're newsy.
So you could try to do that and roll them all under one. The problem is if they were time sensitive, or if the people who watched them don't want to come over and watch them again, it is starting over for those videos. There's no way to transfer that viewership.
But with 450 subs, it makes sense just to kind of focus down your efforts, because if you are splitting that time across multiple channels, it could feel like you're treading a lot of water.
And what it is every time YouTube keeps a video out there on the internet, it costs them money, right? They're giving up space. And they're trying to make this a winning proposition. So they're trying to make it hard for the people who have videos up there that aren't making money to keep posting, so that only people who really want to will, and anybody else will just kind of fall off and save them money, so that they can focus their time and effort on people who are making them money, and ideally focus on keeping guidelines in check, focus on getting better relationship with advertisers so that all of our CPMs as a group can rise. And so they're trying to run a business. And unfortunately, that doesn't work with the way all of us run our channels, and we just have to adjust.
It's and the fact that everything is on the internet, especially so heavily ad revenue driven, we are always going to be subject to the whims and the issues and the drama of the advertising buys and things like that. So there's no perfect solution. I do feel for small creators, and again, I think Zane hit it, like the encouragement, trying to think positive. For some of you guys that are out there saying like, no, this is it, don't quit. Like there are a lot of you guys who are doing some really cool things. Team up, make friends, build out your communities together as with creators, but also engage with the people who are watching your videos as well. Right. And that's the best advice we can give, and that's all the comments. I mean, there's so many comments that we wish we could highlight. But I think
this is already running pretty long. I wish, the one thing I do wish is that YouTube had balanced the checkbook and said, you know what, forget the $100 minimum. This once, we're going to send everybody that wants it a check. And so if you're at your first 12 cents,
here you go.
Here's a check.
It costs us a little money.
Yeah, it'll cost us $2 to get it all dealt with by the time we pay employees to deal with that. But here's your 12 cents. I wish they had done that, and they didn't. I think that was the misstep here. But otherwise, I get it.
I get it.
It's a bummer.
It's a bummer. Anyway, guys, let us know what you think, if this advice is helpful. We'd love to hear from you. We hope that you keep creating. And and obviously if this video isn't evidence of it, we are watching, we are engaging with you, we are checking out your content, especially when you don't essentially say, hey, check out my content, but it's like, I'm a creator and da-da-da. I'm usually very curious by that comment. So
we won't sub for sub.
Yeah, we don't sub for sub here. I don't think it's valuable to you. I think there's better ways, and hopefully this video has been a help. Hopefully you get something out of it, and hopefully we get to have many conversations, and maybe we get to do something together in the future. I don't know. You can always ask.
So anyway, this is Chris.
And Brian.
And this is Work to Game. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Take care. Hey, Chris. I really like what you do on this channel, and I want to say thanks. How can I do that?
You could try being a patron.
Oh. Okay, so tell me more about it.
Well, I think you'd have to click on the link to take you to our Patreon page and see if you want to support it. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to support just me.
Okay.
You're going to have to support both of us.
So this is kind of like a win-win. So if they support you, they support me, right?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Do we have like cool, fun rewards? Like, is there anything
They do.
I get?
They do, and we're constantly looking for ways to change that. So if you support Team Brian, Team Chris, just teamwork to game, click on that link.
Yeah. Let us know what you think about the rewards too. Whether you like them or if we could do something a little bit different.
And by the way, thanks for watching this video.
We really appreciate it.
We'll see you next time.
Take care.
Sorry, I just lost it.